As debate goes on about climate change, a team of young conservatives is building a blueprint for the future. The group is working to make an impact on Capitol Hill. It's also encouraging grassroots cleanup campaigns in neighborhoods. CBN's Brody Carter reports from Florida.
Our goal is just getting young people involved, getting young people outside and showing them how beautiful it is.
Clean air and water are important to Dani Lindsay, a self-proclaimed conservative and Florida's state director with the American Conservation Coalition. The group encourages conservatives to join the climate conversation while also leading cleanup initiatives and restoration efforts in their own neighborhoods.
Being the Christian Broadcast Network, I'm sure you guys know God calls us to be stewards of the earth. And that's something that conservatives should care about. A lot of conservatives are Christians, and we want to show them God's beautiful creation.
A recent poll finds that 81% of young Republicans under 35 see climate change as a serious issue and want to take action. The bigger gap in conservation attitudes exists between political parties, with data showing Democrats is 3 times more likely than Republicans to participate in those activities. Benji Backer is working to change that.
In this era of political tribalism that I think we're all fairly sick of, even if we're just sick of one side of it, there's a reality that the left has controlled the narrative on this for a very long time.
After headlines of 2023 being the warmest year on record, to the high sea levels and ocean temperatures, Backer and his coalition want common sense solutions to protect the planet.
Climate change.
Climate change. Climate change. Climate change. Climate change.
The radical versus radical approach we've witnessed our entire lives hasn't gotten us anywhere, and it's actually set us back. This shouldn't be about politics. This should be about our planet.
Since 2017, 40,000 members have joined some 150 chapters of the American Conservation Coalition nationwide.
Instead of being angry on social media or blocking traffic or throwing tomato soup at priceless paintings, what if you clean up your backyard? What if you take people in your community on a hike? What if you get your church to do a cleanup?
In addition to hands-on efforts, Coalition President Chris Barnard says the organization has helped pass major legislation and is also pushing the country to make smarter decisions when it comes to energy.
Instead of doing fossil fuels in China, instead of getting our uranium fuel from Russia, we need to be producing here in the United States because we can do it cleaner than anyone else, and we do it cleaner than anyone else, but we also have a moral obligation to our own national security to take some of that back.
In Backer's new book, The Conservative Environmentalist, he questions the Biden administration's Green New Deal, pointing out the highly debated $93 trillion legislation would only reduce carbon emissions by 4%, according to its own statistics. He also offers that partnerships between energy companies and environmental nonprofits could be a way for America to engage in diverse energy production without financially burdening future generations.
The environment is so much bigger than just environmental politics. It's about our national security. It's about our economy. It's about our neighborhoods. It's about our quality of life.
While his group operates in all 50 states, Backer sees Florida as a prime location for conservationists to make a significant impact.
Some of the most groundbreaking research that drives policy and conservation change comes from right here in sunny Florida at the Hub SeaWorld Research Institute.
That shows you how busy we are, that the sample's just like...
Scientists here lead dolphin research and rescue programs, along with habitat restoration in the Indian River Lagoon, which spans 40% of Florida's east coast.
We need to go from the bottom up. We need to protect the habitat for the fish so that the fish can be healthy and so that the dolphins have enough prey. We see decreased body condition in dolphins in the Indian River Lagoon across the board. Over 90% are underweight.
Hub SeaWorld Research provides crucial data to lawmakers wanting to shape policies for protecting natural spaces. By partnering with the ACC, they hope to bolster even more support from future conservationists. While dolphins might not be the issue in your backyard, environmental leaders emphasize getting involved in your own community sends a message that makes a difference.
It's all connected. We can't solve the dolphins' problems without thinking about how this affects the entire ecosystem. So that's why it's kind of a daunting problem.
That is how you're going to really make impact and change. If you take care of your local environment and helping nonprofits, whether it's Hub SeaWorld Research Institute or whether it is in your local municipality, that's really where the difference comes in. And that's how you could solve these bigger problems, is by helping local.
Conservationists say this work isn't rocket science. It's harder than that. It isn't just ecological, it's political, it's economical, and biblical to steward the earth and everything in it. But they say it's a puzzle that we can solve if we do it together. Reporting in Melbourne, Florida, Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, I've been an environmentalist all my life. I was raised by environmentalists. My dad said we were organic before organic was cool. I was the one in charge of the organic garden, which was a ton of work every single Saturday. But when you look back at my family history, here's something you may not know. My grandfather was in Congress, in the Senate, and in the House of Representatives back in the 1930s. He saw an absolute need to start preserving wilderness areas right here in America. So the Pittman-Robertson Act, which is still in place, was created. And what it did is it took fees from hunters, from people with fishing license, hunting licenses, tax on ammunition, and put it into a fund that could only be distributed to the states. It was set aside. It couldn't be used for general fund purposes. And the only thing you could do with this is to buy land and set it aside as wilderness areas, as conservation areas. It's been enormously successful, and that's one of the keys to maintaining the environment is, say, you leave it alone. You can't develop there. You can't have these places. We have to have set-aside areas, and the very people that use them, whether it's hunting or fishing or whatever the activity, the very people that use those wilderness areas are now responsible for the stewardship and for creating even more. That's one of the keys. Looking at the current environmental movement, it seems to be pendulum swings to one extreme or another, and focusing in on, well, is carbon dioxide a pollutant? Or, you know, how do we maintain our economy if we're not driving gas-powered vehicles? All of these things are extremes. When we come together and say, let's be good stewards of the planet, let's try to find ways to capture carbon and put it into carbon sinks. Let's try to have a diverse energy grid. It's in our interest to do that. How do we do that economically? How do we invest in energy technology to get us off of fossil fuels? But I'll underline, the most important way to take care of the environment is to make sure that we leave it alone, in that it will take care of itself.